I'm going to tell you why real estate doesn't always have to be a deal. It doesn't always have to be a foreclosure that you just bought for $50,000 and you're going to turn around and flip it. If you wanted to buy a piece of real estate, there's a few different reasons why you might do that. The first reason is flipping it. And in that case, it does have to be a deal because you're going to turn around and sell it very quickly. So if you can get a very good deal on, something that somebody in an old distressed property or an older person is getting rid of it and they bought it very low and they're just selling it low for no reason, then you can find all types of properties like that, or people that really desperately need to get out of their house, then it turns into a good deal. But what happens when you come across something that's on the market, it's been on the market for a few days, investors have seen it, people have seen it? How do you decide if it's a good deal or not? Well, it depends on what you're using it for. If you plan to use that to rent it out, then you're going to have to do the math to figure out if it's a good deal or not. Now, let's say that you have a $200,000 house that you want to buy and you know that you have to put down 20%. And you obviously are going to have that down payment, and if you want to put a less of a down payment down, then just do the math on something smaller. But for a $200,000 house, you have to put down $40,000 for a down payment, and you're probably going to have at least $10,000 in renovations that you're going to have to do just to make sure that it's nice enough to show to the tenants. So you're putting up $50,000 just to buy this house, and it's a $200,000 house, and lots of them like that are selling for $200,000. And you're not the best negotiator and you don't want to be the best negotiator. Well, how do you know that you're going to make enough money on that investment? Well, the idea is, if you look at compounding interest, everyone's going to tell you to simply do the math on compounding a number at 10% over 50 years, and it's going to turn into this big number, and that's well and good, but you have to make 10% on your money. So if you wanted to put $50,000 into Google instead of putting it into real estate, you might make 10%. You might not. How do you know that you're going to make 10% or not? Here's the numbers that you can do to know that you're going to do it with real estate. If you put $50,000 into a house, you're going to want to make $5,000 per year. It's as simple as that, 10%. Just move the decimal over, take off a zero. If you know that you can put $5,000 into a house, then you only have to make $500 per year. So 10% is not that difficult in real estate. So you put $50,000 down on a $200,000 house, and immediately you're going to have a much lower mortgage payment because you put down such a big down payment. So make sure you go to a mortgage calculator, figure out exactly what your mortgage is going to be, including the current interest rate, and then include the monthly taxes, and then include if there's some kind of condo fee or association fee. If it's a detached condo, make sure that you put the association fee in there too, and possibly insurance, but those are smaller numbers anyway, so you don't always have to worry about them, but it is important if you want to figure out exactly what you're going to make per year. So if you divide $5,000 by 12, you end up pretty close to $450 or so that you have to make. $500 per month turns into $6,000. So if you can make between $450 and $500 per month on a rental that you put $50,000 down, then you're going to be doing very well for yourself. Now here's the thing. If the lender that you have says that you only have to put down 10%, so you only have to put down $20,000 on that house, well, your mortgage payment is going to be higher, that's for sure, because you're going to have less that you put into the house for the down payment. So you only have to make $2,000 per year on your $20,000 that you're putting into it. If you have an extra $10,000 in renovations, then you want to add that number in there as well. So you want to figure out exactly what you can make per year. If you have $1 million and you can make 10% per year, then you can make $100,000 per year. So once you've saved up over 30 or 40 years of making money at your job, and you've saved $5,000 or $10,000 per year, you keep putting it into a savings account and you buy a house, and you keep putting it into a savings account and you buy a house, and you take the money out of your IRA and you buy a house. Once you've put that $1 million into real estate and you're making 10% on everything, then you're going to be making $100,000 per year indefinitely for the rest of your life. And as 30 years goes by and you pay off one of those condos, now you're making that entire mortgage payment as well. And I know that's a long-term approach, but so isn't an IRA. And if you have an IRA and you're going to be making, putting all that money into your IRA, well, first of all, you can't retire before 65, or else you're going to pay 10% fees and all of that money that you take out. You're going to have to pay taxes on that money, which is understood. You always have to pay taxes when you make a profit. But your IRA, let's say it's $2 million when you retire. Okay, you're 65, you have $2 million. How much are you going to ration to yourself every single month, every single year? What if there's a big dip in the economy and your money goes from 2 million down to 1.5 million, and then it goes back up to 1.7 million, and you're taking money out along the way? It could end up very, very scary to be thinking about what's in your IRA and at what times you can take money out of it. So when you have real estate and there's a big dip in the real estate economy, and the market goes down drastically, and your $200,000 house that you just bought 3 months ago is down to $150,000, you're not going to be able to sell it for any more than that. It doesn't matter. You signed a lease for 12 months. You're going to have a tenant in there for 12 months. They're going to be paying that same rental income, and you're going to be making that $500 per month or $450 to make back your 10% on your $50,000 investment. So when you're making that money, you're going to be able to get a new lease next year, and even if it's slightly lower, it's not that big of a deal. You're still making monthly income. When you buy a lot of technology stocks and when you have a lot of mutual funds and things, some of them pay dividends and some of them don't. And even if you pay a dividend, even if you collect the dividend, you're reinvesting it right back in. So even if your IRA is collecting a dividend in the mutual fund that it's in, you're still not collecting that cash flow. You're still not going to be able to retire until you're 65. And these days, anybody under 30 is Googling that term very quickly. How do I retire before 65? How much money do I need to retire? And that number that you need is basically the 10% after that number. So if $1 million, if you can live off of $30,000 per year, then you add a zero to that, and you need $300,000, and you invest into 5 or 6 different condos or houses, and you rent them out, and as long as you're going to be making that 10% every single time, then you know that you're going to make 10% on $300,000 in the end, and you're going to be making $30,000 per year. It's as simple as that. That's the nice thing about real estate, is that you get that cash flow right in your hands that you can spend, on your own personal items. You don't always have to reinvest it right back in. If you were able to put the $30,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 into a condo, you buy it, and you weren't allowed to keep any of that rental income. Even if you were making $500 per month, imagine if it was forced to stay in the house and it would go down on the principal and down on the principal, and you weren't allowed to collect any of it. It wouldn't be as appealing. The appealing part of it is that you collect that cash flow immediately, and you're allowed to use it on personal expenses, or you're allowed to use it put it into your savings account and reinvest it back into more real estate if that's your choice. But you don't have to put it back into the house like you do with an IRA. You're forced to keep your money in the IRA, which is kind of frustrating, and I've always been frustrated with an IRA. I don't like them very much. I don't like 401ks. I like real estate much more because you see that money, you collect it, you have a house, it's tangible. Imagine being 50, 60, 70 years old and your kids say, "Hey Dad, hey Grandpa, what did you do during your whole life?" "Oh, don't worry son, I have a heck of an IRA that I'm living on." Or, "Hey, look at all the 10 houses. You want to drive by the 10 houses that I own? Let's look at all of them and discuss all of them and show you how I collected money on them and how they grew over the years and how I no longer have a mortgage payment on any of them, and I'm collecting even more rental income now." So that's what I really love about rental income. That's what I love about real estate. And that's how you figure out if you're going to be making money or not. You always want to make 10%. So someone might tell you that a $250,000 house, "Oh, that's not worth it. It's going to go down. Oh, that's not worth $275,000. But that's not how you should be looking at it. You should be looking at it as, how much am I putting down? Is my lender allowing me to only put down 10%? And if they are, that's great. Now you only have to make 10% on that number. So the lower amount that you can invest, the quicker you make that money. And every once in a while, you can start, maybe you're making 15% on one of them. So what you want to do is figure out that calculation, which is your mortgage payment, your interest on the mortgage payment, which is included right in there in the calculator, add in the monthly taxes, and if there's a monthly condo fee. Put it into an Excel sheet, row 1, and put all of those in there, and then put the rental income in there too. And I know that the rental income is not guaranteed, but what you can do is go online and search as if you are renting one of those condos or one of those houses. And if you're searching as a renter, you're going to be able to see what the rental market actually is. And, go down on that a little bit and just say that you're going to rent it out for X amount. And if it's a profit, great. If it's not, okay. And if you see that that house is worth $275,000, then take it one step further and say, what would this house need to be worth right now for me to actually make 10% on the amount that I have to put down? So the $275,000 house is only making 8% in your Excel sheet in that row. So you decide to lower that number down to $250,000, which lowers your down payment, it lowers your closing costs, it lowers everything, and it lowers your monthly payment in the end. So you'll be able to turn that into 10%, and that's where you need to be. So if you have 15, go through every single one of the houses that you see on the MLS and start doing that calculation. It's a very simple one, and once you do it 5 or 6 times, you're going to see how simple it is to do that calculation. And if you can see a 10%, a 12%, a 14%, and then an 8%, a 7%, a lot of people are asking too much for their house, but if you can figure out where that cash flow really turns into a good number, get that 14% one. And your friend might tell you that, oh, it's not worth $200,000, it's not worth $198,000. I bet you could offer them, $175. Well, it doesn't matter. That's worth it to you. It's worth it to your cash flow. Offer them full price if you think that it's worth it, because you're going to make 14%. That doesn't come around very often. So if you can find a 14%er, 15%, let's say that it's $30,000 that you're investing into something, and you want to make 10%, that's $3,000. So if you can make 15%, that's $4,500 per year. You're going to make that $30,000 back very quickly, and you're going to be able to put another 30 into another condo or another house very quickly. So that's the number you should be looking at. Don't always look at, oh, this is worth it, it's not worth it, oh, the market's going to continue going down, or it's going to start going up, or I'm going to wait another month because the interest rates might go down, or I just heard on the news that this is happening or that's happening. None of that matters. What matters is investing $10,000 and making $1,000 per year. Investing $50,000 and making $5,000 per year. If you can make 10% on your money, then you know that if someone ever gave you $1 million, or if you ever won $1 million, that you could make 10% of that, which is $100,000, and you could live off of that for the rest of your life.